Hi all, welcome to Chakira's Corner, where we discuss pertinent agenda items from the Board of Commissioners meetings with Commissioner Chakira Johnson, as well as share some community updates from DeKalb County District 4. In addition to serving on the BOC, Commissioner Johnson also is a member of 3 county committees, the Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee, better known as FAB Committee, the Employee Relations and Public Safety Committee, better known as ERPS, and then the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee, PWI. And I will go ahead and turn it over to Commissioner Johnson. Happy May to you. We're recording the April edition this time, but we've got some pretty good updates. So tell us a little bit about the month of April.
So the month of April, we were pretty busy, as we always are. We did have a week off, blessedly. The last week of April, we did not have a meeting because it was a 5th Tuesday, and we do not meet on the 5th Tuesday. But we got a lot of stuff done in April. We continue to approve items that moves us forward towards the consent agenda and making sure we're focusing on our infrastructure. We also approved things like a Greenway Trail Master Plan for DeKalb County. We also extended the contract for the planning company that is working on that contract. And then we also approved for CDBG funding to go to several city projects, but specifically in District 4, the city of Stone Mountain is getting $300,000 towards an update to VFW Park. So we were doing a lot of work in April. Excited to be here to talk about it. I think I missed one big thing that we accomplished in April as a team. We held our first Community Connections breakfast on April 12th. It was a huge success. We had close to 100 people in attendance. The food was great. I appreciate you, Carrie and Alicia, for all your hard work and making sure we got that accomplished. I think the community was very pleased with it. We had great speaker. Miss Maria Hauser was our keynote speaker, but we also had a lot of other department heads that joined us and gave really good pertinent information. The Q&A session was robust, and we went about 20 minutes over the scheduled time before we cut it off. So again, it was a success, and we're looking forward to the next one in July.
Indeed. We did have an excellent turnout. People were really engaged, which is important. You know, we can't do better if we don't know what people want or need. So the turnout was good. People were well fed. They liked the food.
Food always helps.
It always helps. And then, of course, like you said, Maria Hauser providing a lot of good information about things that are coming up, things that have gone on in years past, and what we're doing to catch up with the water infrastructure. So it was an excellent presentation. And anyone who's interested in maybe watching it, I know we did have some technical errors on the day of. Some people weren't able to watch the live stream of it, but that video is out now, and we should have links to that showing on the screen now. You can also find those on Commissioner Johnson's Facebook pages and her, I think it's on your Twitter and your Blue Sky as well.
Okay. Yes.
All right. Well, speaking on the notes about some of the things that have been done for the BOC, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the agenda here if you're ready to jump into some of those items that you mentioned.
Let's go for it.
All right, here we go.
So the first item to talk about, this is a really big one, item 2025-0313. You can read all of that big header information, but basically we approved a contract at the April 22nd meeting with two engineering firms, SAK Construction Inc. and Vortex Services LLC. Total contract amount not to exceed $75,826,623. So this is a really, really big contract. It was a lot of money. We actually talked about this multiple times in PWI. And this is essentially what we call a find and fix contract. So what these contractors will do when it comes to sanitary sewer projects is they'll get kind of, the Department of Watershed will send them out to an area and say, hey, assess this pipe, and if you find X, Y, and Z, fix it. So in this bid document that we received, which was really a different type of contract than you will normally see, there were hundreds of bid items to cover just about any scenario that they may come across. So it included traffic control, erosion control, inspecting the line with a video camera to see what the issue is, but then also items to actually repair the line. So these items, they can also be called a unit price contract. We here in DeKalb County, we call them find and fix. But we have these unit prices. We know what a 24-inch pipe is going to cost by that contractor. So when we have a project area come up or a problem area come up, we'll be able to assess, hey, we need this project area or this problem area needs these 12 items to become a project, and this is what it's going to cost. So we, instead of having to go out to bid every time we find an item or find an issue, we can pull on this find and fix contract multiple times until we get to that dollar amount of almost $76 million. So with this contract, we will be able to get through a good chunk of the issues that we're having in our sanitary sewer lines. And you'll just continue to see more of these items come through as we continue to work and chip away at the consent decree and making sure that we're addressing all of those items. So I just kind of wanted to talk about the find and fix contract. We also it was a good discussion for the committee members as well as Commissioner Terry. So on the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee, the chair is Commissioner Robert Patrick from District 1. I sit on it, as well as Commissioner Nicole Masai from District 3. But in the committee meetings, we quite often will have other commissioners join in the discussion and to hear the items. And that's pretty common for most committees. So Commissioner Terry was a part of these discussions as well. And there was just a lot of robust discussion on how this type of item goes through the procurement process and what the bid tab looks like, because it is a little different than your standard project where you say a standard project, you have a set linear feet of pipe, you have a set number of manholes that need to be replaced, you have set quantities that need to be replaced, and it makes understanding the contract and understanding the bid document a little easier. Whereas this one, we just know, hey, if we need to replace the 24-inch pipe, how much is that going to cost us per linear foot? And then when we get to the point where we are replacing that pipe, we'll say, now we'll know, well, this one actually has 100 linear feet. That next project has 200 linear feet. And you can kind of assess and create your bid tab or your specific project.
Indeed. Now, maybe this is a little bit of a dumb question, but so if I'm understanding this correctly, what it is it's kind of like a fund that can be drawn from and drawn down as these repairs are discovered. It's not necessarily, this is a project and this is the amount. This is the amount that is allocated for these projects.
That's a much simpler way of putting it than I probably put it. So yes, that's a great way to see it. It's good that now that we did the rate increase for water, which is painful for many, but this is one of the reasons why we needed to have that vote so that we had a way to fund these type of projects.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also in the agenda, it looks like there is, let me pull this up really quick. So it looks like you guys are also looking at creating a residence review committee, is something that came up on the agenda as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is a SPLOST 2 residence review committee, and we are still actively discussing this item. It has been discussed for a couple meetings now, and it will be discussed as we continue in May. But basically, we had the same resident review or oversight committee for SPLOST 1, and now that we're into SPLOST 2, we need to implement a similar review committee, which some of the discussion and debate is this an oversight committee? Is it an advisory committee? What exactly are the details of what this committee will be charged with? Currently, we know that each commissioner will be able to appoint one person to the committee, and the CEO will be able to, as written currently, the CEO would appoint 2 members to the committee, and they would meet at least monthly or quarterly, and then also report back to the BOC on what they're finding and what's happening with the CIP projects, the SPLOST project, excuse me. Some of the questions that have come up from citizens and from others is they believe that this resident committee should be able to make decisions and make the decisions on the priority of the projects, and be more of a decision-making body versus an advisory body. However, you have to make sure that this committee is not usurping the power of the BOC, who is the legislative body of the county and is charged with the authority to make the final decisions. So it's just we need to continue to discuss the best way to balance what is charged within the legislation, the resolution that legislated us having SPLOST 2, the referendum that the voters voted on and approved on, and making sure that we're creating a resident committee or oversight committee or whatever it ends up being called, that is what is beneficial for DeKalb County, for its residents, and making sure that we are adhering to the rules in SPLOST 2, which are very different than the rules of how to spend the money for SPLOST 1, but making sure that we are doing what we were taxed to do and what we said we would do when the citizens voted on the referendum for SPLOST 2.
Okay, makes sense. Mm-hmm. So once that's created, kind of when would they hit the ground running once that committee is developed?
As soon as possible, because SPLOST 2, we actually started collecting money. That 1 penny sales tax actually started collecting money last March. So we're about a year into collecting money, and we have not stood up this review committee. Part of that being that last year we had 2 vacancies in Super District 7 and Commissioner Seat 3. I mean, we know we had those 2 resignations as they were running for CEO. So the Board of Commissioners that were remaining were kind of waiting for these vacancies to be filled before they took action. And so now that we have the positions filled, we have a full board again. It's time for us to enact the committee. So as soon as we get through these discussions, we need to be the commissioners need to fill the seats, the appointments as soon as we can, so that they can get to work as soon as they can.
And you said that that's 2 residents per district?
1 resident per district. CEO gets 2 appointments.
I see. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Yep. All right. The next thing that I have here is improvements coming to the city of Stone Mountain. Let me go ahead and bring up that item here. All right. Well, here we go. Tell us a little bit about this park improvement project.
Yeah, so in the April 22nd BOC meeting, we approved a couple, I think it was 3 or 4 different agenda items with our community development department. And each one of these was actually in separate cities within DeKalb County. This one in particular, agenda item 2025-0421, is for the city of Stone Mountain at VFW Park. It's an improvement project. So as I think everybody knows, I used to be on city council in the city of Stone Mountain. And this is actually a plan that we have been trying to find funding for a few years. VFW Park is a city park that is nestled right behind the post office. The post office is off of East Mountain Street. The park is off of Gordon Street. And so this improvement plan will redo the parking lot, redo the pavilion that's out there, and just do a walking trail around the edge of the soccer fields and just do some general updates and improvements. The total project cost is over $600,000, but they will be getting $300,000 from the county, and then they'll do the match for the rest of it. So this park is near and dear to my heart because we also have the Stone Mountain Community Garden at this location, which I helped found. I was one of the founding members. Sorry, and it's still a member of the garden, even though I don't get up there quite as much as I would like to get my hands dirty. But it's going to be a really good project that the city has been looking to implement for a couple of years. So it's exciting to be able to raise my hand as a commissioner to see this project get off the ground. So the city of Stone Mountain, you've got this coming soon.
All right, so I do have some visual aids here for us to take a look at, just because I think a lot of those developments are really exciting. So take us through this.
Yes, so this is a project description for the updates. Like I said, it's at VFW Park, which is located at 888 Gordon Street in the city of Stone Mountain. Currently, the park, well, it used to have a ball field, restrooms. The ball field's more being used by soccer at the time. It has restrooms, on-site parking, and our community garden. The park is in need of infrastructure and upgrade. So with this grant, which again, the county is providing $300,000, the city will get the match of $393,000. And with that, we'll get an upgrade to the pavilion with a lawn, a natural play area, new trees and shrubs, new parking area, and just new site finishings, as well as making it more ADA accessible, which is not ADA accessible at this time.
Gotcha. See, and I think we've got some pictures here.
Yeah,
little street
that
show.
is a map.
Blurry, but
yeah. So you'll see Main Street and Champion Middle School, and then the park is over there on the left of the screen, tucked away behind the post office.
Right over here.
Yep.
Excellent. And then just another illustration here.
Yeah, it's a little small, but in the top right corner of what we're looking at, that is where the community garden is and will remain. Most of that actually won't get touched because that is very active, but you'll see they'll redo the driveway, actually have real established parking. Right now it's just gravel parking and can get washed out. They'll redo a pavilion, add a grass area for the lawn, do a walking trail around the large open field, which currently gets a lot of pickup soccer games. If you go on a Sunday, you will see mostly our Hispanic community out there all day long playing soccer, and it's just open to the public, first come, first serve. So it's one of our more used parks in the city of Stone Mountain.
Well, great. So something else that CEO Chakira Johnson did recently is she held a mayor's retreat where they talked about some of the goals that mayors had for the city. And while I know you're not a mayor, can you give us a little bit of insight about what some of those goals were and kind of how District 4 and the BOC as a whole will help to support those goals?
Of course. So yes, now that I am a county commissioner and I'm not in city government, it still is intertwined because we still represent citizens who live in cities. So in District 4 specifically, we have 5 cities within our district. We have a portion of Tucker, we have all this, and then we have all of City of Stone Mountain, Clarkston, Pine Lake, and Avondale Estates. So having a connection with the cities and with the mayors is very important. And I was grateful to see the CEO have a similar retreat to what we had with the BOC. So she could hear directly from the mayors on what is important to them. Some of the items that were discussed included, similar to what we talked about with the BOC, is affordable and workforce housing development, infrastructure investments, transit planning, support for unsheltered residents, because as we are seeing in District 4, that issues with the unhoused are growing and growing in the district. It's not just an unincorporated DeKalb County, it's also a growing issue in incorporated cities as well. And they don't have the same, some of them do not have the same resources that the county might have to help the citizens or help the unhoused. So having a holistic county-wide approach to supporting the unhoused is important to the county as well as to cities. And then, of course, economic revitalization, revitalization of their downtown areas, public safety, and youth engagement, as well as job creations and green space expansion. So again, green space expansion, you look at what we just approved for City of Stone Mountain and getting an improvement to one of their existing green spaces. That's really, really important. So why does this matter for DeKalb County residents? Again, even if you live in a city, you're still a resident of the county, and it's still our duty to make sure that we are listening to these citizens and trying to provide them with what they need, whether they live in a city or they don't live in a city. But it's important to the DeKalb County residents to be able to provide, coordinated solutions when it comes to these issues, because many of these same things, again, is what we talked about on the BOC level. So we're seeing just a cohesive idea of what we're focusing on in DeKalb County. No matter what side of the county you're living on, you're kind of getting the same items: affordable housing, the transportation, the infrastructure, economic development. So when the CEO was able to have this retreat with the mayors to bring these forward to us, then we can see that clearly we're tasked with the same type of items, regardless of where the resident lives. And then we can make a collective approach on how do we fix these items? How do we collectively improve on the stock of different housing options? How do we make sure the missing middle has housing options, which may, if you have more housing options in the missing middle, or you have workforce development housing, that may help with some of the unhoused situations. Maybe they might be working, but they're not finding housing that they can afford in the areas that they need to be living. So having additional housing options is something that we can do on a county level and provide, which may not be able to provide on the city by themselves. The infrastructure upgrades, water and sewer is provided by the county to everybody in the county, municipality or not. So making sure that we're providing clean drinking water or a safe way to flush your toilets, that's on the county, and that is important to every resident in DeKalb County. And so in general, just making sure that it's good to see that no matter where you're living in DeKalb County, we like to say we're one DeKalb. And that is true because we're all facing the same kind of situations. We all want to see the same type of growth and progress. And that was very evident to me from the retreat that CEO had with the mayors of DeKalb County.
Got it. Yeah. It seems to me like one of those it's a great way to not only resurrect and beautify an area that may have been, kind of downtrodden for an area, and then also provide some housing to those who need it most. So that'll be interesting to see what the solutions are.
Yes, it definitely will be. And I know there is an agenda item that we've been discussing. We have no resolution on. It's on, I think we kicked it back to committee, but the agenda item is essentially to reduce the minimum house size for 2 of the residential zoning districts. So this wouldn't increase density because the lot sizes would remain the same, but the houses could be smaller. And if you can build a smaller house, effectively it will cost less. It's not quite affordable housing, but a more affordable house choice could be available. It would be really kind of good. I think it would help in District 4 because we don't have a lot of space to build new subdivisions. We're pretty landlocked here in District 4, but we do have a lot of infill lots that may have been demolished or neglected, and new stock could be put up. And so maybe putting in a smaller house or having a smaller minimum house size could help change up some of the housing stock that we have, especially here in District 4. But anything that happens would be countywide. And so, a lot of the districts, South DeKalb versus Central DeKalb versus North DeKalb, the geographic makeup and the land masses and what's available is very different. So it is hard to make a wholesale change that makes sense for everybody within the county. So it is still an agenda item that's actually, I think they started discussing it about a year ago. So it's been discussed a lot. And again, I think it's still being discussed. I think we put it on hold for another 30 to 60 days. So we will see what comes out of that one. But that is another interesting one to watch and see what happens with that. And I think it could solve some issues, but others see it as not solving any of the issues. So again, it's always good to have hearty discussion on items at the BFC. And I will touch on here in District 4, we also are starting to have quarterly meetings with the mayors in our city. Interesting enough, I didn't realize the CEO was doing it, but the day after she had her retreat with the mayors, I also had a meeting with my mayors, and we had a couple of them come through. So we will continue to have these conversations with our mayors to make sure that we're touching the pulse of the citizens of their cities as much as we try and touch the pulse of the citizens who don't live in a city as well.
That makes sense. And that'll be good to have that constant open line of communication so that people are getting what they need and nothing that they don't. So
exactly.
So I know that we're kind of running up on time here, but the month of May is Older Americans Month. And I know the BOC usually does something to recognize that. We learned recently that there are some resources offered by Human Services that celebrates Older Americans Month. Are you aware of any of those resources? And if so, can you share them with our audience so that they know what to look for in the month of May?
I do know that many of our senior centers and our community centers are having specific programs in the month of May geared towards the Older Americans Month, which, this month we probably celebrate the wisdom and resilience and contributions of older Americans. Without them, we would not be here, and all the things that they fought for and put forward for us. So we are happy to celebrate them. I'm looking real quick. So our Human Services Department does have an office of aging, and they have a lot of programs in place for our aging population. So please, I think we can put their website here. They have a lot of great information, as well as just social programs, getting involved in the community center so you can make sure you're building a community, creating friendships, and not being too often our older Americans, they don't like to drive as much. So there are programs and funding where they can get funds to either hire a driver. I forget what the program is called, but they can choose a driver that they trust, and they can get funding and help for that, as well as call on Human Services who have some shuttle services that get citizens to and from the senior centers, so that they can participate and enjoy the programs being offered, so they're not feeling as isolated at home. So that is always a lot of great information. Human Services does case management. They have in-home services, home delivery programs, and just a holistic approach of wraparound services that they can provide to our seniors and our older Americans. And so it's just a good time to highlight all of that and even just thank Human Services for all the hard work that they do. I think we need to be funding them even more than we do here in DeKalb County. So any chance we get to just uplift them, the work that they're doing, I think is a great thing.
Indeed. And you are right. If they weren't here, we would not be here.
Exactly. They paved the way. So we need to
Right.
thank them and appreciate them. Exactly.
We owe them at least that.
We owe them at least that. Exactly.
All right. And so if you're looking for any information about Older Americans Month and some of the programs being provided, such as the Senior Olympics, and this should be out just in the nick of time, but it might be wrapping up. And if so, we hope that you'll look for it come this time next year. But information about that will be up on Commissioner Johnson's social media pages. So feel free to click on that and join in where you can. And also, even beyond the Senior Americans Month, you can always go to East Central DeKalb. They have wonderful programs for aging in place and getting in there, making new friends and learning new games.
Saltwater pool.
Saltwater pool.
It's the only saltwater pool in the county. So,
Yep.
A lot of good activities.
Yeah. So truly worth it if you go and visit that sometime. Another thing is, we're going into the summer. Sheriff Melody Maddox just wrapped up her enrollment for, I think it was her 5th annual Boys to Men, Girls to Pearls in summer camp. So can you tell us a little bit about the sheriff's program and why it's so near and dear to District 4?
Yeah, so Sheriff Maddox this is her 5th year doing the Boys to Men, Girls to Pearls summer camp, as you stated. This has just been one of her signature programs where she's really gotten into the community and been a champion for these programs. And we're excited. I'm excited to announce that District 4 is helping to support the camp. I think we allocated about $10,000 this year in support, because when you have an organization like the sheriff of all people wanting to pour into our youth and understanding that if we pour into our youth, then maybe they won't have to see her later in life, and how much that can impact their lives when we're dealing with mentorship and stuff like that. It's just something that I was happy to support. As you stated, the submission time or the application time has now closed. Essays were due May 2nd. The camp dates are actually June 2nd through June 27th. And these are all-day camps. They go 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and they were open for ages 9 through 16. So again, a very comprehensive camp, and it's for boys and for girls. And they just have a lot of fun. They get bused to the location so that they will be, safe in a safe environment. And as Sheriff Maddox and her team, they kind of, for the safety of the children and everyone involved, they don't really announce where the camp is located. Those who need to know will know, but it's not really broadcast, so that they're keeping the safety of the children at front of mind. And they just have a fun day camp and through the month of June, and excited to participate. I think there's one day that I'm going to get to go and speak to them. So we'll come back and report more on that as that happens.
So if anybody who's interested, if you missed it this year, should be one next year. So keep an eye out for it.
I will also say, if they're not getting I think it's the DeKalb Dispatch, the newsletter from the CEO's office, she had a whole separate edition of her newsletter the other day just on summer camps. So there's a lot of different summer camp options here in DeKalb County. Hopefully maybe we can provide a link for that. But there was a ton of different options. When I was scrolling the newsletter, I was like, I didn't know half of this existed here in DeKalb County. So sign up for our newsletter, sign up for the CEO's newsletter. There's always a lot of great information out there.
Yeah. And like Commissioner Johnson said, that should be splashing up the screen right about now, and that should take you just right to the form where you sign up for the dispatch. And that is, again, coming directly from DeKalb CEO Lorraine Cochran Johnson. That is her publication that she puts out. It's really good. It's got a lot of useful information in it. And then last thing here, youth services also has some summer programs. I know that we're going, they just wrapped up the enrollment for their program. I'm trying to remember the Rise Up program and Girls Clubhouse.
Girls Clubhouse, yes. So the Rise Up program is geared towards young boys. I just had it up. Let me go back to it. And then the Girls Clubhouse is geared, of course, to girls. But both of them are really good programs. The Rise Up is ages 11 through 13. Intervention areas include parental involvement and support, student attendance rates, leadership, enrichment, problem solving, and conflict resolution, social behavioral challenges, and academically at-risk students. Say that 5 times fast. And so DeKalb County's Rise Up Leadership Development Program also partners with Morehouse College. So that is a really good program and really good opportunity for our youth to get involved and just get some mentorship and see some things they may not have seen, and just get the opportunity to grow and develop and have a little bit of fun over the summer. And then the Girls Clubhouse is an opportunity for, hold on one second, there it is. Girls Clubhouse is an opportunity for youth and parents ages 12 through 18. And their intervention areas that they're focusing on is group therapy, self-esteem and self-concept, problem solving, self-management, and communication. So some of the areas that young girls may be struggling with is, as you know, as they're getting older and into teens and into young adulthood. So the Girls Clubhouse is again a teen girl program that offers group counseling sessions and enhances their social emotional development for adolescent girls. So another great program that DeKalb County is offering, and both of these programs we're happy to be supporting financially with funding here in District 4.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm excited for those because they do provide a good, just a foundational education to excel in whatever kids set their sights on, but then it also tackles a little bit of kind of the challenges that some people don't often think about, but it can help set having that little bit of background, having that toolkit at your disposal if you're in a challenging situation can make all the difference in the world.
Exactly. When the kids go back to school the next year and they're faced with something, a situation, they can think back to, okay, remember I learned this skill when I was in summer camp, and I know how to manage myself. I know how to control my anger or control, the situation. So I have a better outcome than what I may have had if I hadn't gone through the program. So
Indeed. There's certainly some adults that could probably benefit from that.
Many adults should also be going to some camps, right?
Right. Oh, Lordy. All right. Well, I think this has probably been a pretty jam-packed episode with lots of good information. So Commissioner Johnson, go ahead and take us out. How can people reach you?
Yes, if you need to reach me, have any needs or questions, best way is always email me. My email address is cjjohnson2@DeKalbCountyGA.gov. Also, you can find me on social media, which includes Facebook and Instagram. Those handles on those two platforms are at Commissioner Chakira Johnson. I'm also on Blue Sky or X, or as we still call it, Twitter, as at Commissioner CJJ. Again, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, and that should be flashing below. If you do find this podcast helpful, and if you want to know when a new podcast is being released, please remember to hit the bell icon so you can receive these notifications in the future. And again, I just appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we look forward to sharing more information with you in our next episode.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for taking the time to explain these things. I know I definitely find it helpful, so hopefully our audience finds it helpful as well. And to everyone watching, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. In the meantime, whether you're watching this during the morning or the night, whatever you've got left, we hope you have a good one. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.